All right, hello there. Welcome back to the first edition of NBA Weekly of the new season. I gotta say, after last season, I've been waiting very patiently, but I've still been eager at the same time to get back onto this content because NBA Weekly, if you guys aren't familiar with, last season I would do hour-long episodes, sometimes 50-minute episodes, sometimes 40, but it was honestly my least viewed series, like not even close. Then I switched up the format to where in the first half of the video, I talk about, the records of the team, kind of how each player is playing, and then we also look at the player stats. Then in the second half of the video, we talk about 3 teams in particular, and we really dive deep on them. But, considering it's week 1, I don't want to do too much, right? I'm trying to digest as much NBA as possible. So I will be doing 2 teams this time on the second half of the video, but I will be following my NFL weekly format to where I have bullet points. Now, how I'm going to do that is we're going to do a positive, a negative, and then one big question mark on whether or not if that team can, take that next step in whatever their goal was for the season. That question is going to be really indicative of can they or can they not do what they set out to accomplish, whether that's a title, just developing young players. It's going to be very fun for me. And again, considering it's the first edition of the season, I do want to take it slower on how many bullet points I have and how many teams I have. Typically, I do 5 bullet points, but I think this time around I'll do 3 or 4. I'm not entirely sure. I think I'll get there when I get there. But again, first edition. So let's get started. Okay, first seed and second seed in the Eastern Conference. To no surprise, Celtics are 1. Surprisingly, the Sixers have been on a freaking roll, winning 5 in a row. But not only that, Joel Embiid looks absolutely lethal right now, knocking down all the mid-range shots possible, being extremely efficient, and just being the Joel Embiid that we knew from last year, really. But not only that, Tyrese Maxey looks legit on another level. Tobias Harris has been performing well. Kelly Oubre has been performing well. This team as a whole under Nick Nurse has just done a solid job 6 games in. Bucks sitting at 4-2, winning 2 in a row. Hawks 4-3. Magic 4-3 have been a pleasant surprise. They're a very fundamentally sound team doing all the right things though. The defensive end, Franz Wagner does a great job holding things down in terms of the pace. On the offensive end, just a solid Magic team this time around. Pacers 4-3. Tyrese Halliburton is just that man. Honestly, dude, Tyrese Halliburton is just that man. Cavaliers need a little bit more time to get completely healthy. They have had injuries throughout their first 6 games. They were healthy the last game. And they, I believe, beat the Warriors. Yeah, they beat the Warriors by 11. A really solid outing, honestly, especially for Donovan Mitchell just doing his thing. Nets sitting at 3-4. Cam Thomas is an absolute bucket. Mikal Bridges being another bucket. And those are the only 2 shot creators on the team. And it's showing because when the ball's not in their hands, it seems like it's a little harder to get shots going. Knicks 3-4. Extremely disappointing start to the season. Julius Randle has just been shooting up a lot of bricks this time around. Very frustrating time for Knicks fans. Raptors sitting at 3-4, and they're a very inconsistent team. It just feels like you don't know what you're going to get, honestly, on any given day. Like, if you were a bettor, I would just stay away from Raptors games, period, because it just seems like you don't know what the hell is going to happen. One day they look like freaking great players, and the next they look like shit. For example, they come out and destroy the Bucks by 19, but then they lose to the Sixers by 15, fair. But then they're getting destroyed by the Spurs, and then they come back and they win it. But then they lose to the teams to a team like the Blazers. I don't know, man. This Raptor team is weird. It's LaMelo Ball or nothing for this team. Everyone else has been dog water. Terry Rozier actually has not been dog water. Marcus Williams has shown some promise, but it's just disappointing to see his lack of help. LaMelo Ball in particular, because he's been so good. Pistons 2-6, losing 5 in a row. They're still developing. Cade Cunningham honestly is really impressive, but it seems like he's got a couple things to work on, which is just fundamentals. Honestly, like the simple things, like very skilled player, but sometimes forcing it too much, turning it over, or taking untimely shots. So he's got to work on that a bit, but Cade Cunningham's got a bright future ahead of him. And the Wizards at 1-5. I don't even need to talk about them. It's Jordan Poole and Kuz as the team, just shooting a shit ton of shots. Moving on to the Western side of things here, we'll keep it more brief. Reason being is because I don't want to take up too much time on the first half of the video. Grizzlies, we'll start from bottom down, or bottom to up. Grizzlies have been absolutely disappointing at 1-6. They need help, man. But Desmond Bane is busting his ass trying to keep this team remotely competitive until Ja can come back. Problem is Ja's suspended for 35 games, dude. Jazz are the Jazz. They're relatively the same as last year. They just added John Collins. Not a whole lot to talk about this team. The Kings need De'Aaron Fox back immediately. They've been struggling a lot without him. The Suns need Book and Bradley Beal to get healthy ASAP. I mean, that's kind of how they built this team, is around the three superstars in Kevin Durant, Book, and Beal. But with Kevin Durant being the only one there and Book missing most games but playing some, it's just not helpful, to be honest. This team is so reliant on those three guys. Like, that's how this team is built. They're not built on the role players. Trailblazers 3-4. Honestly, I'm surprised they're even 3-4, especially with Anthony Simons out. Lakers at 3-4. As soon as they get healthy, I think this number will change and they'll be playing a lot better. But they have had injuries on injuries just to start the season. Spurs at 3-4 is a weird team because they've gotten blown out badly 2 times, and then they've beaten the Suns 2 times, and it's just Wembanyama's a beast, like flat out. He is just a beast, but for some reason it just feels like they don't want to get him the ball in the post sometimes, which is just odd, man. Like, feed the guy. Like, if he needs to shoot 20+ shots a game, so be it. It's really hard to stop him, especially since he can just pull up and shoot anyway. Clippers at 3-3. Adding James Harden to the team. I'm not a believer in this team at all, to be honest with you. I think injury is going to be a big concern, but also I think there's just too many cooks in the kitchen. A lot of people needing the ball in their hands to be effective. It's just not, I don't think it's a good matchup. Thunder being 4-3 without Shea being healthy. I can't wait till Shea gets healthy and stays on the court, because we know that he's a 30-point per game kind of scorer. Pelicans 4-3. They've been battling injuries as well. Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards is the man. Literally responsible in them beating the Celtics. Then we're rounding out with the Mavericks, Nuggets, and Warriors. Or I should say it in order. Nuggets 1 seed, Mavericks 2 seed, Warriors 3 seed. Stephen Curry is playing at an MVP level right now. Just unreal. Luka Doncic playing at an elite level right now. Just unreal. But also, you can tell this team's just better, especially than last year. I didn't think so, but Grant Williams has actually been a solid addition. Just being able to knock down the open-ass threes, because Tim Hardaway has his streaky moments and he struggles. Derek Lively's still a young player. He doesn't really have touch around the rim, but they provide defense, man. Just adding some defense, I think, is a really big deal for this Mavericks team. And then the Nuggets. They're the Nuggets. Even without Jamal Murray, Jokic is just carrying out the ass. It's a tough team, man. Okay, very briefly, we're going to go over the league leaders in the league right now. At points per game, At points per game, we got Donovan Mitchell and Joel Embiid leading the way at 32.5. Luka at 3. Steph at 4. Jason Tatum at 5. Rebounds per game, surprisingly, DeAndre Ayton is leading the way, which is extremely surprising in all honesty. It says that a lot of last year just wasn't really giving too much effort. But this year, 13.3, my goodness. Sabonis, no surprise at 2. Jokic, no surprise at 3. Mitchell Robinson and Rudy Gobert rounding out at 4 and 5. Assists per game, no surprises here. Tyrese Halliburton at 1. Just so elite at playmaking. Trae Young at 10.4, number 2. LaMelo Ball is 3. Dennis Schroeder, a surprise, at 8.9. Absolutely unreal early on from Dennis Schroeder. And Luka Magic, no surprise, in the top 5. What is a surprise is Jokic not being in there, averaging less than 8.9 assists. Field goal percentage doesn't matter too much. It's mostly just post. 3-pointers made is interesting. We got Lauri Markkanen at number 2, which is saying something, man. Steph Curry, no surprise, is 1. Luka up there, Grant Williams. Wow, man. Like I said, Grant Williams has been a pleasant surprise for this team. Like, I know that my cousin, for example, watches Mavericks basketball, and he really wanted him. I didn't think early on he'd be that much of a scoring threat in terms of just hitting those threes. But good for this team. They really need that. Tim Hardaway also tied with Grant Williams, and Tyler Hero tied with Grant Williams. Or they're all tied with each other, I should just say. But Tim Hardaway is very streaky. Can be very frustrating to watch. Tyler Hero, though, no surprise. He's a shooter. Shoot. All right, welcome back to the second half of the video. I haven't said that in over a season for NBA Weekly. It feels so freaking good. But anyway, like I said in the first half, or like I said early in the video, there are 2 parts of video. This part being the second, where we dive deep into 3 teams typically, but because it's the first edition, I still need time to process a lot of teams, but 2 teams I feel like I have figured out for the most of it are, let's start with team number 1. Drum roll, please. We got the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, first bullet point, we will be doing 3 bullet points this time around. The first bullet point, we have LeBron has still got it. And by what I mean by that, in all honesty, is he is still freaking elite in all facets of the game. When LeBron needs to step up defensively, he steps up. When LeBron needs to step up offensively, he steps up. When LeBron needs to playmake, he playmakes. He does whatever he wants to do on the court. The only thing he can do consistently is get to the free throw line because the guy just doesn't get a lot of calls. I think a lot of the stronger people in the NBA get punished for their strength being so much on the higher end of the scale, right? So it's like they're not getting the calls they need to because they're not just getting thrown around when leading to the rim. It's a little frustrating, but LeBron is still him. He is still that guy, even at 38 years old, going on 39. And it is shown, man, time and time again, when they need a big bucket, this dude has just flat out stepped up. Or whether it's coming from the or whether it's on the defensive end, getting a big block out of nowhere, that's just what he does. And even on a loss against the, what was it again? Against the Heat, getting doubles, finding the open man, and a beautiful pass to Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish just missing the shot. LeBron is still him, man. And it's amazing to see. And I think that people are taking it for granted at the moment because he's been doing it for so long. But, you know, he's 30 years old. At some point, he is going to retire. He's obviously in the back half of his career. So you got to appreciate it while you can. And personally, every day he plays, I'm just like, dude, this guy is freaking incredible. Second bullet point I want to talk about is AD needed to step up, but hasn't. What do I mean by that? It's simple. When LeBron came to LA, you know, he knew that he needed a second dude who eventually would take the reins. When AD got traded there, everyone was under the impression, all right, LeBron is going to hand the keys to AD. And LeBron said as much, man. AD's got to be that guy. And this season especially, he's got to be that guy. And he hasn't been that guy. His great games are great. It's just how often does he have them? Super inconsistent with it. Now, he is a stat stuffer and he is going to do something, right? That's not the question. But we needed him to be the guy, the best player on a team. And it's but the best player is still LeBron James. And I don't think that's really a question because in the big moments, or even in the playmaking department, or even in the consistency department, LeBron is going to give you something night in and night out, even if it doesn't show up on the stat sheet. Anthony Davis, sometimes you just want him to body someone up in the post and he doesn't get the ball, or he doesn't ask for it, or he doesn't demand it, or something. Sometimes he just settles, and it's frustrating because Anthony Davis can be so good, at least it feels like. Or he is good, but he can be so much better is what it feels like. But it just seems like he hasn't crossed that threshold, which is really frustrating, especially as a Laker fan myself. Because as I am watching these games, I'm like, dude, you're not healthy all the time. The least you can do is when you are healthy, just go off, just be crazy, just do crazy shit. And it's like he hasn't delivered on that aspect, which is frustrating because honestly, that's what we need in order to win a championship. I mean, you go back to the bubble year where AD in the bubble, he was that guy. AD flat out was that guy in the bubble doing crazy ass shit. And it's like, where did that go? And the third bullet point, we're going to end off with the question here is, the injuries are derailing this team, of course, but what can this team do when healthy? You have players like Taurean Prince who have missed a couple of games. Gabe Vincent has been out. AD left the Heat game and he's questionable tonight, and I'm recording this on the 8th. Jackson Hayes sprained his ankle. Let me just pull up all these injuries so I don't have to just throw it off the top of my head. Okay, Jared Vanderbilt hasn't played all season. Jalen Hood-Schifino has been out all season. I believe all season. I don't think he's played one game. Let me double check on that. Yeah, Jalen Hood-Schifino has been out all season. Although he is a rookie, it'd still be nice to see him healthy and ready to go. But it just seems like injuries have really hurt this team. And it'd be nice to see everyone healthy so we can actually see what we can do. But when you have Cam Reddish starting, it really says a lot about our health, dude. Like, seriously, we had Cam Reddish starting and I'm just like, oh my God. He's just not that guy to start. Like, he is not a starter-worthy player. No disrespect to him, but I feel like it's kind of apparent. But when this team is fully healthy, what can they do? Can they shoot a lot better? Can they score a lot more? Scoring seems like it can be a problem at times. I know in our team stats we're 17th in points per game, but it really feels like it can be more. You know, our field goal percentage has been relatively solid, but what has been abysmal as always is our 3-point percentage. It is 29th worst in the league. 29.8% is what we're shooting from 3, and we also score the least amount of 3s, right? We're at 9.3 threes per game, at 29th in the league. Been absolutely frustrating, but also another thing is we're also 8th in offensive rebounds. Now, I truly believe when Jared Vanderbilt gets back, it's going to help with our defense, but also even with just those hustle rebounds, man, Vanderbilt is absolutely phenomenal when it comes to hustle, and I do think that he puts us a little more higher in that stat than 29th, because that is honestly just really bad. Moving on to the next team, we have, drum roll please, we got the Golden State Warriors. First bullet point I want to talk about here is Steph Curry has been an absolute MVP candidate thus far in the season. Let me just pull up his game log, man. Y'all gotta hear this shit to believe it, because even though it's Steph Curry and you know what he brings to the table, it still feels unreal that he's doing it this efficiently. So, okay, let's start with the first game of the season against the Suns, 27 points. All right, not bad. Second game, 41 points. Third game against Houston, 24. Pelicans, 42. Sacramento, 21. OKC, 30. Cleveland, 28. Detroit, 34. All while being extremely efficient. Let me tell you how many threes he's making in these games. Starting with Phoenix was actually a rough outing in terms of 3-point percentage, 4 for 14, but still 4 threes. Sacramento, 7 for 10. Houston, 6 for 14. New Orleans, 4 for 13. Sacramento, 4 for 10. OKC, 5 for 10. Cleveland, 7 for 11. And Detroit, 7 for 17. The dude has been an absolute fucking sniper, man. I just can't put it into words how good this guy is, honestly. Like, you watch the difficulty of shots he is shooting and just seeing them fall, you're just like, dude, he single-handedly makes everyone's life on the defensive end significantly harder, because you obviously have to watch out for him, especially with how much he moves. He moves around a lot, and it is hard to keep track of him. And then having to deal with the screens, whether it's having to push through and go over, have to worry about the hedge. Like, there is just so much to worry about when Steph Curry is on the floor, and he is delivering time and time and time again. Also, the most minutes he's had in a single game this season has been 34 minutes against Sacramento. Every other game has been 30 minutes, 32 minutes, 31 minutes. So he is not getting as much minutes as LeBron is, right? But goddamn, he's still doing this much. Like, it's just crazy. Second bullet point I want to bring up here. This is supposed to be the bad one, and I really had to nitpick, but it still is pretty important, right? Second bullet point here is Andrew Wiggins and CP3 scoring troubles. Their shots have not fallen. Andrew Wiggins seems like he's taken a step back this year, only averaging 10 points per game. Chris Paul, on the other hand, hasn't been able to shoot shit. Like, he said it himself, his shot's not falling right now. But he also did say the fact that it's not falling and they're still winning says something pretty incredible. We'll get to what to credit on him later, right? But right now, it's just like open threes. This guy is not being able to knock down. The typical Chris Paul mid-range faders or pull-ups that he always makes really just isn't falling right now. And then he's not shooting a lot after he misses like 4 or 5 shots, and he kind of just sits back on it a bit. And then Wiggins, on the other hand, isn't shooting a lot of threes, but because he's just been flat out missing. 0 for 2, 0 for 1, 0 for 2. I think he's got like 1 or 2 made threes on the season, which is really abnormal for him on the Golden State Warriors, because he's honestly been a sniper for the past 2 seasons. So yeah, he's only made 3 threes on the season. Not good. Well, not when you're, 8 games in? Yeah, 8 games started, only 3 made threes is a serious surprise. Now, if you follow Andrew Wiggins from the Timberwolves days, you might be like, that's not a surprise. If you followed Andrew Wiggins on the Warriors and you're a Warriors fan, you're thinking, wow, that is a fucking huge surprise, because in 8 games, he has at least 1 made 3 in each game, at least. So for this to happen, definitely a surprise. And our third and final bullet point, we have CP3 leading Curryless minutes Is that enough? Now, some are you confused? What do you mean? Why is this the question? Well, if you separate last year from this year, the biggest addition you had is Chris Paul. And the biggest difference you'll notice is Chris Paul is leading those minutes where Curry is off the floor. The entire offense funnels through Chris Paul, and he just makes all the passes in the world. Having his assist numbers completely shot up, or I wouldn't say inflated, but it's definitely just what he brings, and that's just being able to play make. So that is the biggest difference from this team this year and last year, is Chris Paul again really leading those Curry-less minutes. Is that enough to make them contenders? Well, early on they're 6-2. Granted, they haven't been elite teams. So if I pull up their schedule very briefly, they're 6-2, but they've been the Pistons, Thunder, Kings, Pelicans, Rockets, Kings. They haven't played anyone like the Nuggets, but they do play them today. By the way, this is on the 8th. But Jamal Murray is still out. But, you know, they lost to the Cavs when the Cavs were healthy. And that could be a top 3 seed, top 4 seed kind of team. But what are they going to do against Celtic type of teams, right? Nuggets type of teams when the Nuggets are completely healthy. If Jokic does play today. I know Jokic is listed as a game time decision. Or the Sixers right now, where the Sixers are on fire. Or maybe the Lakers when they're fully healthy. What will the Warriors do? That is a big question. I know you can argue the Kings are an elite team, but honestly, they haven't done shit. Last playoffs, they didn't even get out the first round. So you can't really call the Kings an elite team no matter what their record is, even if they finish second seeding. They haven't proven anything at all. So until they do, we're not going to go there. But again, the Warriors, is adding Chris Paul to handle those Curry-less minutes as their big change enough to push them over the edge into being legitimate contenders to where they're actually making the finals? I don't think so. In all honesty, I think it's just too small of a sample size at 6-2. I think we need to see them match up against teams like the Celtics for us to really kind of gauge, okay, this team is this or this team is that. That's why I wanted to hold off on doing too many teams for NBA Weekly, but I feel like we're at a good spot with doing the Lakers and the Warriors because there's still question marks revolving around them, right? But anyway, I appreciate you guys for watching. I'm very excited for the season unfolds. I'm very excited I got to do this NBA Weekly. I've been recording for 38 minutes now. This video will not be 38 minutes. It'll be cut down to probably around 20, but that's how much I have to edit when it comes to this shit. So yeah, 38 minutes and 45 seconds is what I'm sitting on. Curious to know what the final cut is going to be in terms of length. But as always, I appreciate you guys for watching. This is Ollie Been Different. All we've been different. I'm so excited to be back on the NBA Weekly, and we out.